So in this video, we're going to create a custom triangle shape tooltip with a crosshair once we hover over it. As you can see here, we get these lines. Once we click on it, or not even click, once we hover over the specific points, it will show us the lines and it will create a triangle and a matching color of that line. So let's start to explore how to create a custom triangle shape tooltip with a crosshair in Chartjs. First thing what we need is we need to go to chartjs3.com getting started. This specific link is also in the description box. Then scroll down here and copy this entire chunk of code. And once you copy this code, if you want to understand what the code does, make sure you watch this video here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just paste it in there. So once I paste it in here, what I want to do is I want to cut out this and then of course change here the title. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we have this, and what we want to do is basically start to create the plugin to make a custom shape item. However, in our case, I want to make it for the line. That would probably be the most logical to do, because we're going to use a crosshair as well. So I'm going to copy this data set. First of all, I'm going to make a second data set. So just to make sure, there's a green sales, and this will be the red sales. And then the red sales is this. Just remove everything else. So we can just remove all of this. Make sure to remove them all. So later on this will be useful because we're going to extract the specific value and now it's not an array. So make sure you do the same here. Remove the brackets. And the brackets are referring to these brackets here. So here, this will be the green color. Put it in there. Put it in there. Here, number 1. And this here we can say tension. 0.4, alright, and there we are, 0.4. Next, make this a line, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have them, but of course we need to have some different numbers here, so 9, 6, 3, I guess here we can do 18. Just giving some different numbers here, so they are easily to spot. Save that, refresh. There we are, so we have this now. So what we want next is basically start to create, of course, our plugin. So I'm going to say in the options here, comma, and then we say plugins, bracket, and then here we'll just create a plugin. Let's call this plugin custom triangle tooltip. Copy this, and here let's call it like this block. So we have this one, and then I'll say a constant. This equals that. All right. And then we say ID here. While we will not use this, I'll just keep it same. I recommend you to keep this all consistent so it's easy for you to reference to it. But anyway, this is more for the options itself, the ID, so we don't need to use that here. So what I want to do here is the following. We're going to say here, well, what are we going to draw? We're going to draw basically two items. We're going to draw the crosshair, which is basically these crossing lines. And what we also will draw is the triangle, and I guess for now what I want to do is I want to focus on the triangle first. So I'm going to say here after draw, and this is very important. I'm using after draw. Why? Because the tooltip, as you can see if I hover over the tooltip is on top of everything else. So that will mean that we will draw first the chart, and after everything has been drawn, after that we will draw our triangle tooltip. Because we want to make sure that it is on top, or else it will be behind any of these lines or grid lines or bars, whatever we have. So that's why this is very important to remember. And then what we're going to say here, we say chart, arcs, and options. I will not focus on these two, we won't use them anyway, but we need to have the chart. And this is basically what we call an object. All three of them are object, and we're going to do in here a object destructuring. And basically that will mean that we're going to split out the object so we can use a shorthand. So to do this, we're going to say constant, and then we say here curly braces, and then we say chart. And then in here, basically we say, okay, we have this object here, and in this object we have a few items. And what we want to do here is basically I want to get the CTX, and I want to get the tooltip object. And the CTX refers to drawing something in the chart itself, and the other one is the tooltip object. So now we can use these shorthands. And what I want to do now is start to create an if statement here, or more better, let me just show you first of all. Let's do the tooltip here. If I do a console log, refresh, open up developer tab, You can see here we get this, and if I hover over it, something will happen, and you get all these coordinates. And these coordinates are essential for us, because basically with this, you can see here we get the x and y coordinates, we get all of these items that we need to know. And this is very important for us to work with. So what I want to do here is basically the following. I want now to start creating shape, but I want to only do it if, for example in our case, if we hover over a specific item. Then we should basically draw the shape. But if we are away from it, we should hide it. So we need to create this so-called method of checking if it's active, yes or no. So what we can do here, we can select this, by the way, you will see it here. And you can see here somewhere active underscore or underscore active. Now it says 0 because it doesn't recognize it. Or maybe we selected one of these objects here that when we hover over it or we mouse out from it, at that moment it doesn't show anymore. But if I do this now, and then refresh, alright, now you see it. So you see it here, it's now blank. But if I go here, look at this, and now we get the objects, oh, and as you can see, it moves away. Once you move away, it will reload and trigger as well. So you can see here we get all the information, and what we need is the data index, and we have here the elements, which are very useful as well, but these two are the most important one. So what I want to do here is basically say an if statement, and our if statement will be triggered during this period here. So we're going to say here the following: if. Now what I will do here is I'll just say this chart active 0. If that is the case, I want to do here this, and what I want to do here, of course, we say this, and then what I want to do is here 0 as well. So you will see here this will work nicely. Oh, alright, sorry, tooltip. The reason why this is not allowed here is simply because we use here the object destructuring, but we haven't assigned it here. We could basically move it up here, and then I would expect this to work accordingly. Let's see, save that, refresh. Alright, there you are. And now as we hover over it, there we are. And then we have all of this. But when we hover on the blanks, nothing happens. So it will only show if there is something. So that's our if statement. So now we have this. What I want to get now, of course, is the most important items, which is basically all of these values. So what I want to do here is I want to get the index of it and of course the data set. So I'm going to say here enter, and I'm going to just say here tooltip active, or let's say here very simply the following: let data index and then equal what exactly will be the tooltip, basically this here dot data index would be matching with the index here. Alright, and the same goes for the data set. So if I do this one here, let's call this the data set index, exactly the same, copy this, put it in there, and now if I save that, refresh, oh, we need to of course do a console log here down. So what it's going to do, copy this, put it in there, save that, refresh. As we hover over there, you can see here now we get always the data point value, which is the data index. Alright, so this is fine, but here's the tricky part. We have this active here, and you might have here, basically this code would be very good for this one here, because we're only looking at active 1, for active if there's only one item. But what happened now if here, let's put this on 3 and 3, so we have now 2 items in here. If I refresh here, we get this, and you can see here we have green and red basically being shown, and this is active, but we only show here active this. If I do now active 1, you will see it will not work here, it doesn't trigger, but if I go here, it triggers. Why? Because now we have 2 items in here. So what we want to do here, although it will be not so important for this video, I have another video that goes more deeper in that, but we might want to have here, instead of this, just a loop version here, where we get this information. But in our case, in this video, I will not spend much time on this, because we will not make any double consideration here. I have another video for that, how to work with multiple data sets in a line chart. However, if you want to know just some basics of it, we have to create here, in essence, basically a for loop. And this for loop, or sorry, a for each loop, will do basically the following. Instead of looking here only at 1, because that's what we have, I want to go here and just say the following. I'm going to grab this active, then we'll say here a tooltip and an active, and then we say for each, meaning that if we have any array in here, not only index 0 but also maybe index 1 or more, if you have multiple lines, then I want to look through all of those. So let's make this very simple. I'm going to just say here basic one. I'll just say a tooltip item comma index, and here we're going to make this callback of our function arrow expression, because it's basically this is a function itself. And then what we can do here, we can cut this out, put it in there, and then we can use here a shorthand. That's this one here, tooltip index, and then we'll just grab every array in here. So that is a very important item to consider. I guess in this case we need here only the background colors. I want to focus on this text here, so I don't care too much about the text, but what I do care is I want this red color and I want this green color. So what we're going to do here now is, let's get the colors. So we say here, or first the coordinates. So we need the coordinates, and the coordinates are basically depending on the loop as well. So what we're going to do here is let x point, that's the coordinate. And how do we get this? Well, let me show you again here. If I do here console log, and now we are in the tooltip itself. Save that, refresh. We go on here. Alright. Then don't worry about that first for now. Then we can check later on. But what we want here is basically this. I want to have the x and the y values. These are the official coordinates. So what I'm going to do here now, I'll say tooltip, and then how do we get there? Element dot element, and then x. And then next what I want to do here is, oh well, we can just copy this in there. And then next, copy this, and then say here the y, and the y is this. There we are. So now we have the coordinates here, and we have this data set index. I guess this one doesn't work anymore because now it's in this loop, so no need for this anyway. That's why we get this error here below. So now we have this here. Nothing yet works here, or at least nothing is triggered yet. So what I want to do now is getting the colors as well. So we're going to get the colors here. We just say here colors, and then it could be, or if you use the brackets, then you have index. So basically array index. But here's the most important part. I would recommend you just to do it like this. You can do it, then you must work with arrays, then you work with an array. But if you do like this, it's just like a value. It's a constant value that's being recognized, or a object value, nothing more, nothing less. So what I want to do here is the following. How do I get the specific color? So to do this, I need to do console log. We're going to go into the chart, and we're going to use a specific function called get data set meta. And then here, if I save this, refresh. Hover over our item, we get a lot of information. Alright. Then what I want to do here specifically is the item itself, or the value. So in this case, what I want to do here is I will get the data set. Where is that? That's this one here. If I save this now, we should look through the data set. There we are. We look through the data set, but what happened is we get two data sets, of course. And this is what we need. We need specific value information here. Or more specifically, we need to look for in underscore data set. There you are. We're going to grab here. We could get here the label on the text, but for, as I said, this video I will not focus on that. I have other videos regarding to that. Specifically, we're going to tooltips. It's just to keep the videos more concise. And then here, background color and border color. So I'm going to grab here this one, and all I want here is now this dot background color. I'll cut this out, and I'll say here, well, we can say here let, and then we say here bg, or this, the background color equals this. So you can see this is a quite long code, so maybe we could just say here, very simple, let meta, what's it, data set meta, I guess, data set meta, and this data set meta will be equal to this. Let's cut this out, put it in there, semicolon, and this here is now our shorthand, put it in there. Alright, so now we have that Then what I want to do as well is for the border color, then instead of background color, I'll just say here border color. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so nothing yet works. So let's do console log just to validate these numbers here. At least this specifically here. There we are. And of course the border color. Save that, refresh. Hover over an item. Alright, so that's interesting. We get here now undefined. So let's see, what am I missing here? So, oh, alright. I see what I'm missing here, I guess. What we need to go is to a specific item. So let's go back here to this. I see I forgot one item. So if I do this here, so you have this border color or background color, save that, refresh, hover. Alright, so this works. So how did we get there? It was here, if I'm not mistaken, underscore dataset. So that's the object I was missing. So what I need to do here is dot underscore dataset and then dot border. Just put it there. Alright. We could even use this one in there just for the shorthand. It's alright. Doesn't matter for now. So if I save this now and refresh, I should get now the colors. Beautiful. Now we get the colors here, and these are the border colors. Alright, sorry, this should be background colors, sorry. It must be better background color because that's the BG, so we have now these two colors. And it should show here nicely. You see here 1 and 0.2 for the alpha value. That means the background color is slightly more transparent. Alright, so now we have this. So let's start to create basically the item. And to do that, what we want to have here is the item here. So let me explain here. Because we have here this, I want to draw the tooltip. But if you have this tooltip here later on, you'll see here, because we are on top of each other and we have this for each loop, we will loop twice to an element. And I want to avoid that one. So later on, I'm going to show you exactly how to avoid that. But later on, so avoid double loop, that will be for later on. So now, let's just draw something. What I want to do is just a basic triangle here. Triangle. I'm going to say here, I'm going to make it a function. I'll say function triangle. And what I recommend, if you are interested in learning this even more deeper, oh, what happened here? Sorry. There we are. By the way, if you want to learn this more deeper and want to understand what we're doing here, I highly recommend you to check out my Canvas series. My Canvas series explains how to draw shapes. So I'm going to go very fast in this because I assume that you know that. Based on that, and if you want to know more, watch those series. It covers many different shapes. So what I'm going to do here is, first of all, I'm going to say ctx.begin path. And this begin path is basically the starting point of the shape. Next one is here the ctx.line width. And the line width, we're going to say we want to make this 1 pixel. Basically, a borderline of 1 pixel. Then we're going to say here ctx stroke style, which would indicate what is the color of the triangle borderline. So in this case, to make it very simple, I'm going to say here this is black. Straightforward black. And then what I want to do here is ctx dot fill style, which would indicate the background color, and I'm going to use here the official color, which is the RGBA official color from Chartjs. So 0.10, 0.1. Alright, so we have that one. And then now what we have to do here is to indicate where would we like to start, the starting point. Well, the starting point is basically on this item here. This is what we call the caret. Basically where the caret, you see this triangle of the tooltip that's pointing it? It's called the caret. And the caret is pointing to this dot here. So I want to show you how do we get this dot. Remember this here, the coordinates. These coordinates now will help us to draw our item. So I'm going to say here ctx.move to, which is our starting point. So it will not draw anything yet, but it will say this is the starting point of the dot. Say here y point. And then what I want to do here, I'm going to make a first line to draw. So I'm going to say line 2. And what I'm going to do now is just very simple. I will not even spend time on, or at least creating the triangle. I'm just going to say here -10. Alright. Now I will just say here ctx dot, this is I have to draw that one. Sorry, that is a stroke. That's for the borderline. And then if ever we have a shape, we want to have the fill for the background. And if we save this now, let's start. So if I do this here, do we see anything? Oh, probably not, because it goes to the other side. It goes to the left side here, because this here is going to left side. So if I'm going to do plus, it will go to the right side. And what I will do is I will make it very extreme. 100 pixels, and here 5. Save, refresh. So now we should see a line, and alright, interesting, we don't see the line here. So I'm going to have to figure out here, what am I missing? Oh, of course. So what am I missing? Well, basically nothing. Our function works, but we didn't trigger the function. So what I want to do now is I want to copy this specific function, and just put it in here. What we can do is, let's say here, draw triangle. The triangle function trigger. Alright, so once we did this, save that, refresh, there we are. Now we are getting something nicely. So what is very important, because we're in the loop, we're looping it twice here, and that's maybe not always what we want. So we have to really be careful how we're going to do that one. Anyway, that's the first one. Let's make the triangle first. So how do we make a triangle? So you can see here, when I go plus on the x-axis, or on the x point, I'm going to the right. If I do negative, I'm going to the left. If I want to go up, I need to go negative in the points, in the y point, which is the vertical point. So negative go up, positive goes down. So now I want to make a triangle, and I'm starting here. What I want to do is I want to go like up here. So what we can do here is just very simple. We're going to say here, we are going to move this, and then we say negative, and then maybe 15 pixels. And then for the y, I want to move. So basically we're going to move to the left 15 pixels, but up, because we have to go diagonal, so we also need to have an adjustment on the y value, because if not it will just be on the same position. So you say up here would be maybe minus 25, we go here. Then you say here minus 25. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now you can see here we have this. And this is now clear that I will change the line width. So the next thing will be eventually, okay, where are we going to move it to? So if we have this point, the x point of minus, and we want to make a triangle. So we are here now, so pointing here. I want to go now to the other side and then go down. So I need to go to the other side first. So basically what we need to do is we can maintain this, because we're going only on a horizontal level, we're going to the right. And how much do we want to go to the right? Well, if we did here minus 15, and the point is in the center. So if we do plus 60 or 15, then we have a nice shape here. Alright, so now we get this, but of course the line here is not closing. So all we have to do here, we can do two things. We can put in here the command, but I would recommend you to do the following. Just say here, just below here, and then here, ctx.close path, and it will automatically calculate for us the closing part. And then when I do this, there we are. Alright, so now we have our tooltip. What I want to do here is just to say tooltip, or in the plugins, tooltip, and let's disable the tooltip now. Enabled equals false. Comma here, save this, refresh. Alright, so you can see here we have this, and if you really look here carefully, you see that this one is slightly darker than this. And to make sure that this is really clear, I will show you here, we have this, well, let's make this 5. It's dark, alright. And here you can see this is almost solid. And that's not what we want. And the reason why this is solid compared to this one is because it is drawing twice instead of once. So that's why, and this happens because of our for each loop. So what I want to do here is I want to create a function here. So we have to draw the triangle. Well, basically here now we can now start to avoid the double loop. And what I'm going to do to avoid the double loop, all I need to do here is basically this index, which is first index 0, it loops through this index 0, and then the second item will be index 1. And that's what we can use here. So I want to say if. So, and all I want to do here is basically the following. I'm going to say if index equals strict 0. In that case, I want to draw this shape. If the index, because after that, the index will be number 1 because of the second for each loop. then it will not draw anymore. And you will see now, if I save this, refresh, here the color and here the color are exactly the same, and I can make this very light so you will see it nicely. Same, same. As you can see here, no difference. So you might say, well, what happens then if we're going to work with text? Well, for that other video, I have that because it's quite extensive to explain those things. So I have the video also. I will put it later on at the very end, by the way, that video. So what I want to do here now is, now I have this, but let's make something more fun. I want to make the triangle a color inside of our line. So that's the next thing what I want to do here. So let's create a new function. And this function, what we can call this color triangle or inner triangle. So I'm going to grab this here and we say this, and then here, and then here we have this, enter. Oh, make sure we put this back. There we are. And then what we want to say here, almost similar. I'm going to grab this. And here line width, or well, in this case, we can have the line width, doesn't matter. Eventually, I want to focus on giving it a solid color. And the reason I'm going to give this a solid color, because if you have a transparent, it will be on top of this, and you have the black and the red together. And if you look in Chartjs, they have fixed that by using the clip feature, which we can do as well, but it's quite complicated. Separate video for those as well. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to focus on the most important part here. That is this one, fill style. In this fill style, we'll grab what color? Well, the color of PG. Whatever that color will be, depending on our for each loop. Next one is, let's see here, and then we can say here ctx.move to, and what we will do with the move to, I will just grab all of this, because basically we're very close to that. But here we have to do still something additional. Basically we have to play around here a little bit, and what we want to do here is the following. I'm going to grab here, well, fill to, we have this, we have the X point, and basically our X point we can maintain, because we want to stay here. How many pixels to the left do we need to go? Well, none, or at least similar to the X point, but we want to be a little bit up in a triangle. So let's say here Y point -5 to be up. Alright. Once I did this, what I want to do here is I want to make this triangle, of course, smaller, so we say 10. And we can do here, I already calculated this is 22, 22. And here, plus 10. So if I save this now, refresh, you can see here now. Alright, of course, why it didn't show up? Well, the answer is simple. First of all, we didn't have the function triggered, plus we didn't say here, fill. We need to fill here. And of course, what I want to do here, ctx.restore, to make sure that it will restore all the values back to its original. The same here. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to grab this function. Enter this, start a column, save, refresh. There we are. Alright, so as you can see here, we have here now, because of our transparency, this is becoming an issue. So that's why we need to get the border color. I think that's what I was trying to say, but for some reason I got the background color. And to solve that, there is a way, it's called clip. But anyway, that's alright. Or we could even do with a white, maybe a white triangle at the back. It's pure white. And then we could use the transparency on top of it. That's probably the most logical way to do it, I guess. We can do that, by the way. I guess we can just do that one immediately. Let's copy that. Undo this, and then we say here BG. I guess here, and then we just say here, this will be white. So what I do is, I first draw the white triangle, and on top of that, I will draw this one, and then we should see here a really nice item here. There you are. So you can see here now it works nicely. And then maybe, well, let's do the ctx.stroke to draw the line. Then you'll see it will look exactly the same here. Line width, and then we have the fill style. You can copy this. We say stroke style will be the border color. If I refresh now, there you are. Of course, it doesn't work 100%. We have to reposition that. I guess we can just ignore that for now. The reason why this is we need to have the stroke line, I guess here this needs to be this, but we need to probably play around a little bit with our pixels here. Although I want to avoid the pixel perfect work for now. Oh, sorry, no, it's not. So what is the issue here? Sorry, I was thinking it would be very complicated, but it's not. What I need to do here is, because this is the line, it doesn't close the path. Remember here we have closed path. Let's copy that, and this will do it. So I say here, save that to close this line. There we are. So now we have that here, although to be honest, this is quite unappealing. I would say make the background solid. It's more appealing. Anyway, doesn't matter. I'll just put in here. For now, I like it solid. There we are, and then maybe even that background there, the black, should be also black. Where are you? There. This one here. I'll just make this solid as well. Save, refresh. Alright, that looks far more appealing to me. Anyway, so now we have this understanding here, and basically now we are done here. We even created the, so you can see this is the item here. If you have two items, it will not show you, of course. Because of the for loop, it will only create once. So you can see here we are clipping off a little bit of our item. We're going to solve that later on. So now what I want to do is I want to create the crosshair. And the crosshair is basically these lines, left and right. However, here's the thing. If I'm going to create the crosshair, I want the crosshair to be always underneath of everything here. All these lines. So I don't want it to be here first or on top of this. So you might say, alright, we just have to start here above. No. Why? We have here to draw after. So what I want to do is I want to do the crosshair after we have drawn the data set. We can do that one, or we can do even before the data set. So it will be after these grid lines, but we are not overlapping or overruling the so-called lines here. So for that, we're going to do here a new feature, or at least another timing. So drawing time is very important. You say before data set draw. So we draw first, or before the data set is drawn, we will draw these lines on first, and then on top will be the data set. This is especially noticeable if you're using boxes basically, or bar chart. So what I'm going to do here, same methodology, copy all of this, put in here, this here, well, we can almost copy this all. It's exactly the same because we have still the same condition. The only thing what will change here is just a little bit. What I'm going to do here in a constant of this, the object destructuring, I'm going to use chart area instead of, well, later on we have tooltip as well. Or I can just put a tooltip as well here, tooltip, make sure you spell it correctly. And in the chart area, we're going to grab basically the lines. Because what I really want is the chart area is basically within this line area, or between these four lines. That's the chart area of the canvas. And what I want to do is I want the lines to be connected here and here, but never overruling this, or never going on top here, or at the bottom there, or somewhere here. So within the chart area itself. So what I'm going to say here, so this will be top, and then we say here, bottom, left, right. So if you really want to understand this deeply, I have a video about how understanding chart area. Highly recommendable. So what I want to do here, and I know that I need to do that both here, ctx dot save. That's what we need to do. We need to save all these variables. I want to do that here as well. I want to save all of this so that we have these, so we can start working with that. Alright, so then what I want to do here now is I want to create here, basically we're going to just create very simple lines. These are quite straightforward. What I want to do is here the following. I'm going to say here, we're going to create a function, and this function will be called the Crosshair Lines. And in this function, I'm going to put in basically the values. And what I want to do here is I'm going to say here ctx begin path, which would indicate the starting point of drawing the lines. And I'm going to say ctx.line width, because what I want to do here is 1 pixel width for the lines, and then I want to say ctx.stroke style, which is the color of the lines. And the stroke style will be, I'll use the official color, #666. And then, once I have this, ctx dot, then we're going to say here, move to. And what I want to do here is move to should be based on our coordinates. And here, this will be very important. What I want to, because we have this active here. Remember what we did here before. We have the tooltip here with the active. I guess basically this here, this item here is very useful for us. If we just copy this, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Basically, this is almost similar to this, except it is now this because we have the for each. Well, we had here the for each. So we're going to just grab here the original position of that, which is from chart tooltip, and in the tooltip we can get here the active element. However, the active element must be on the 0 in this case. So once we have this, we can then start to work with this. So I want to cut this out, and then, well, we can say here, let's say this will be again our point, and then we have here our y point. That will be our starting point. So next, what I want to do here is, let's start to look at where the lines need to be. Alright, so CTX, let me just show you, we say line 2. Because with the lines, what I want to do is, once we hover over one item, I want to have a line going from top to bottom, but also from left to right. So let's start to see how would we do this. Well, basically what I'm going to say here is very simple. We're going to say here, I guess here this could be the left position, or I will call this now f of x left, comma y top. And let's write it like this. And later on, I'm going to use these as our arguments in here. So we have that one, and then we're going to say here ctx dot stroke style to draw the item. What I say here ctx dot restore. All right. Now we have this here, and what I want to do now is, of course, say here I want to draw this, and I'm going to make now these lines. But for this, now I'm going to use some parameters, because that will be probably more applicable and more suitable in our case. So we have this move to here, and this move to, and I realize here maybe we have it slightly wrong. So we're going to draw it, and then you will see it here. I already see I have a mistake in here, but don't worry. I'm going to draw that. So what I want to do here is I'm going to say x point, y point. That will be basically our item. And then what I want to do here, comma, is the following. I'm going to say here, once we have this, I want to have let's see here, a few other items. So what is basically these values? So let me just start to break them down, because I realize that this will be a very important one. So let's say we have the x left, we have the y top, we have the x right, and we have the y bottom. Alright? So we have this here. Because right now here, so this should be matching. So we have the x left, y top, alright. Then you have here the right. So what is the right here? Well, the right will be this one. And then we have, of course, the bottom. However, I want a, what I call a horizontal line. Let's say we're going to start with the horizontal line. If we have a horizontal line, I want to start from the specific point all to the right. So what I need to do here, let's see, I need to start here, and I am slightly struggling. Let me think. Hold on. Alright, well, I already figured it out, was thinking about it, and the reason why it's now so hard is because we have only values, and we have nothing drawn. And I guess what would be very clever is to draw. Basically what I want to do here, this is basically what I want to do, so you have an understanding. Horizontal line. Horizontal line. So what that means is, if we have a horizontal line, but the horizontal line will be based on where we hover. So that would mean that we have a line here, so left and right will always be the same x value, but top and bottom, or at least the vertical line, will be based on top and bottom. Alright? So that would mean here, this is left and right, so left and right will be identical. And then here we have to do, we don't have to use the y top of the y point is in the center. So that would mean that we will miss a part of our line. So what we're going to say here, just top. So if I save this now, refresh. No, alright, unexpected item here on 87. Semicolon there. Refresh. There we are, and 96. Of course. So what is the issue here? Make sure you have a comma here, by the way. Save. There we are. And here, x left is not defined. Alright, so we have X left here. X left is basically this one here, and then there's like 2 items here, but this one is the capitalized letters. Alright, so what we need to do now, we have this one. This is correct, but now we need to put this in the correct position. So move to will be basically on where. So we're going to start on, first of all, on our Y top, I guess. That's the X, and so we have the Y coordinate, and then the X coordinate will be left. So once we have this, this one here will be the right, you can see here. So we want to move from left to right, top to bottom. So if I save that, there we are. Alright, so this works nicely, beautiful. So what I want to do now next is of course the opposite direction, and luckily we have this here. So I'm going to put this in here, and then this will be the, well, let's say here, vertical, horizontal. So that will be more organized. Alright, so now we have this. What do I want here? How do we do the vertical? If we do the vertical, it means that we don't want to move our Y position, basically the top and bottom. That one should not move, but the X and Y, or so the X, the left side and the right side needs to be adjusted. So here we're going to say left, and here we're going to say right. If we do this, if I save this now, we should see here like this. Alright, this is of course not what we want, because we have adjusted as well the top and bottom. That's why it makes it diagonal from here all the way to there. So we don't want that. So what we need to get is the Y point, put it in there. If I save that, now you will see that. Now it moves slightly lesser, but it starts here. So basically Y point beginning and Y point end is always same. Alright, so there we are, have it. Now we have a crosshair. Final item is to give this dotted color or dotted line. So we're going to say here the following. Just put in here ctx dot set line dash, and then what I want to do here, brackets, you can say 6 pixels solid or 6 pixels visible, and then 6 pixels of white space. So if I save this now and refresh, you can see here, but you might notice something as well. Everything else is somehow being impacted. So this is the only one that even with the restore it doesn't work. So what we need to do afterwards to make sure that this set line dash is again deactivated, we say here 0. So no more white space, only solid space. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So now you can see here, beautiful, our own crosshair and our own tooltip that looks like a triangle, matching with the color of the line. So before I even end, because I noticed we still have to cover this item here. So this is a simple item to solve this clip here, or this clipping effect. Well, I'm going to use a simple way here. And let's scroll down here somewhere in the options. And in the options, we can just say here, layout. And in our layout, we're going to say padding. And I'm going to do padding, and if we look at it, everything is not being impacted except the right side. So I can do a specific padding instead of doing padding here, like almost like CSS, you say padding 10 pixels for everything. No, I don't want that. What I want to do here is I want to say padding right. Let's give this 10 pixels. Make sure I have a comma here. Save that. Refresh. And now if I hover over it, oh, you can see here, I realize that maybe we need more, or we can just do 15. And the reason why it doesn't work as expected is because it will only reduce this size. If you reduce the entire square, we have more space. So that's why if you would do padding everywhere, we find if you do padding 15 or padding on the right side only, it will move a few pixels only at a time. So that's why if the square is smaller on all sides, it will be probably padding 10 would be more than enough. However, I only want to remove here this part. So there we are, and now we have this nice, absolutely phenomenal crosshair and tooltip. So if you enjoyed this video, and maybe as I indicated previously, you want to explore with text with multiple data sets, then I'm going to recommend you this specific video here. This will basically how to create the custom shape tooltip for multiple datasets, where we create a dataset where the text will be also, and the tooltip will be bigger depending on if we have like multiple items. Like here you can see that as well. So highly recommended to explore as well.